I had this conversation with my business partner, and I said, if we have to start my own business and we could do anything.
We have to work a little bit harder to get out there.
I think people buy from people. This is a trust business. Psychological safety was the number one factor in companies growing this fast.
ADEC's Smart Start program offers first-time practice owners their deepest discounts on equipment and furniture for 2 years, plus other savings and complimentary services. Ask your ADEC rep for details and start smart with ADEC. Join Doctors Savanah Craig and Ronnetta Sartor as we navigate life beyond graduation. Real conversations about forging our own paths in our early years in our careers. There's a reason it's called practicing dentistry. All right, welcome back to another episode of Beyond Graduation. I'm Savanah Craig, and with me as always,
Ronnetta Sartor.
So another exciting episode with a very special guest. So we have Josh Scott from Studio 88 with us today. Josh, thanks for being here. And if you could give the listeners a little intro about yourself, we would appreciate it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for having me on, guys. It's, beautiful Saturday morning, got coffee, just talking to great people. So great way to start the weekend. Yeah, my name's Josh. I am the CEO, owner, Studio 88. We call ourselves dentistry's story-driven growth agency. And I've been in it this is actually starting our 13th year. So it's been a minute for sure. And something that honestly started as a hobby and then kind of grew into a boutique business. And to now we're one of the top agencies in the country. It's been a fun ride for sure.
Awesome. So Josh, tell us how you got into dental marketing.
Yeah, I fell into dentistry by accident, really. Some people that know me know my background is I actually went to seminary right out of high school. So that was, and which is normally the path into dentistry, right? You go to seminary first. So I tell people from ministry to dentistry, that's how I got here. But fell in love with the space. I worked with a practice management group for over a decade and helped them build their CE events, became their marketing director, eventually started coaching and consulting clients, dentists on marketing, and fell in love with it. And so some point went out, did my own thing, and just decided, Savanah, we had this moment where I started my own business and we could do anything. It didn't have to just be dentistry. But at the same time, after that decade of being in it, I was like, man, I loved the space. I loved the people. You're coming alongside business owners that are trying to build their dream. And that's just such a fulfilling place to be of service and just great conservative people overall.
Very good. What surprised you about the dental field? Because we are a unique group of humans, and to sort of niche down into dental marketing, I would imagine there were people in your sphere that were like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Oh yeah, I mean, still to this day, it's we've got a little bit better of a reputation. But I remember trying to hire people back then, and we'd sit down with them, and they're like, "So this is dental marketing." And I'm like, yes, just hold on to that for a second. Let me walk you through everything. Even to this day, I'm not sure my dad actually even really accurately knows what I do.
Yeah.
So no, I think it was just there's some commonality there where a lot of dentists have an artistic side to them. And being a creative, I've got that same thing. Our team does. And I think at one point I had this conversation with my business partner, and I said, if we have to take what we do and lower it for dentistry for it to be accepted, the creative, if we've got to take some steps back to bring something to market that dentistry is oh, okay, this fits us better. I was I don't know that I want to do that long term, but if we can take dentistry and elevate it with the artistic creative side and tell a better story, that interests me a ton. And so that's what we've been able to do. And I think some of it is just marrying some of that artistic, even that technician side of dentistry. I just appreciate that so much.
That's awesome. So it kind of leads into our next question a whole lot. So it's probably a loaded question for you because we probably don't know a whole lot about it. But what do you wish us dentists knew about dental marketing?
I actually don't get asked this very much, but it's so fantastic. The very first thing that came to mind is finding somebody that you trust and letting them do the job. I think the clients that we get into relationships. If there is tension in a relationship with us, with a client, it's usually like, I'll tell you the truth, Thursday. So 2 days ago, I get an email from a client, and I just happen to be really involved with this client kind of for this season. And we had just launched a digital ad campaign on Google. He sends me an email and says, I made an appointment with the Google rep. They walked me through all these optimizations of the campaign and said all these things should have been done. And so he goes, I made all these changes. I'm wondering why your team missed them. And so I see this email, my heart sinks. And it's not because my team missed it. It's because that Google person is a salesperson, and they are trying to get him to spend more money. And so these are optimizations that broaden that campaign with lots of clicks, but those clicks do not convert. They're not ideal like prospects or leads coming in. So I had his cell phone, so I left an audio message so he could kind of hear my voice and my tone of, hey, you were on with the salesperson. They are trying to get you to spend more money. You need to go back and undo these things. And so I think when you can be in a relationship with somebody where you can let them, I'm not going to be all up in the middle of your crown prep. Like, I'm just not. Like, I don't know those things, If you're telling me like, this is how I'm doing and this is what you need, I'm like, great, man, I trust you. That's what you're trained for. So I think a little bit of that in the relationship is always something where I'm like, let us do it. We know what we're doing. I've been doing this for 12 years. I know more than that Google rep actually does. That was on the phone with you.
Yeah. Why? And this might also be a loaded question, but why do dentists do that? Why do we want to wear all of the hats when we don't have to? Any insight on this? You've been in our sphere for a long time.
Yeah, I think there's two things. I think there's an external and an internal. So the external is, I would be really honest and say, on the whole, dental marketing has been really bad. And there's a few of us out there that are trying to change that. But the normal dental marketing company, and this is just the truth, man, they want to put you in some type of monthly recurring service, $500 a month, $1,500 a month, whatever it is. They want to provide this one size fits all service that they can automate and get done quick. And then they want to leave it alone. And they're betting on you being that client for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years with just like, well, I think it's working. I'm paying for SEO, like whatever it is. And so it's kind of this like shroud of mystery, and let's just do the minimum viable work to keep this going. So that is a huge thing in dentistry. Almost every client that comes to us now, I've been in study clubs, 10 people. I'm like, how many of you have been burned by a dental marketing company? And 8 of them put their hands up. So it's very, very common. That's the external factor. The internal factor is, I think we all want to have a handle on every part of our business, and marketing and sales are like, they're an engine of a business. And so I think getting in and being able to understand it, I would say dentists like value control. You guys are dealing with really small spaces, microns, millimeters, and there's that perfectionism that comes along with it. And so I think when all of a sudden you're like, well, what's going on with my marketing? And you have that minute, it's almost like you put your loops on to look at the marketing and you're like, what is going on? I've got to understand all this. And it kind of it's a big deal,
Absolutely. With that idea, how has marketing and the dental landscape changed in these last 10 years? Because I think Ronnetta and I joke all the time, like, wow, to be a dentist in the 80s and just like put a shingle up that says, I fix teeth, and nobody questions you, and everybody does exactly what you tell them. But now we have to work a little bit harder to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's been it. 1970 up to 1977, marketing in dentistry was actually illegal. You couldn't do it. All you could do is put up your sign. Yeah, I mean, it was actually like a federal law. And back then, because it was healthcare, it was like, why would you, if you're a healthcare physician, or a practitioner trying to serve the public, why would you need to market yourself? People will come to you when they have that need. So that got overturned. It was 77, 76, somewhere around there. I could be off by a year. But at that point, like, marketing got real weird through the 80s, because you still had this generation that was dealing with that mindset of, It was almost like marketing equals bad dentist. Marketing equals, why would you have to solicit patients? Ooh. And so then you get into this like 80s yellow page kind of period where, you could be at a study club. And I know this because I've heard stories. I wasn't in dental marketing in the 80s. But you could be at a study club and If you were going to throw shade at another dentist, you would just be like, oh, that guy, he's got a full page yellow page ad. And it just meant like he's sleazy, he's trying to like
Whoa.
manipulate patients, like the whole thing. So we went from that into really like 90s, early 2000s with the advent of digital. And now we start dealing with really the first generation that was like, okay, marketing might not be so bad. And what would I do with that? And so you've got websites that came around, and obviously the switch into digital and Google listings and all that stuff. I would say that, Rev 1 of websites was pretty brochure, pretty static, pretty just like, let's just get information online. I don't even think the beginning stages, people don't even know what to do with a website. They're just like, I think I need one. To now where we've seen that evolve, and we've gone through like another revolution of websites and digital. It's matured a ton. And then like right now, what we're seeing is the whole, I mean, gosh, just shift in AI and where that's going to go. And we're at the very beginning stages of that. But generationally now, I think we've left that 70s law behind to where, I mean, the last 10 years, students coming out of school, it's like, why wouldn't I market? They're going to the banks like, hey, I need at least like 30,000 or 50,000 or whatever that is to invest in marketing and capital. So I think it's been a real big shift in a couple generations, but
You kind of brought up two things that have been on my mind. And so I'm gonna shoot two questions at you and then you answer them however you want. The
okay.
first is AI in dentistry and in marketing. And what do you see in terms of the opportunities available to us because of it? And the next one, because you kind of mentioned it just then, is about marketing yourself as a dentist, say from even when you're in dental school, because at one point it was, not looked at in a good way to market, but now it's almost like before you even a practice owner, it's nice for you to have your brand already
Yeah.
built. So those are
Yeah.
my two questions that,
Super
Yeah.
easy ones.
I know. I
yeah.
know. Let me hit the second one first because you're 100% right. The evolution of marketing hasn't just gone to the practice. It's actually gone a step further into the personal brand space. And I'm a big proponent of it. People don't realize when we started Studio 88, we actually didn't even have a website for 3 years of starting the company. We actually started joshuascott.com and I just launched my social profile. And back then we kind of looked at it almost more of like a hobby and a boutique business. So I knew enough people in dentistry. I was like, I'm going to leverage my social media account. I'm going to leverage my own website because I think people buy from people. This is a trust business. And so we were 3 years into Studio 88 before we even built our own website. And I'd be on a call with people and they would say, so you build websites? I'm like, yes, but you don't have a website. Yes, that's right. And it was kind of, I don't know, back then it kind of felt like a flex, honestly, like, yeah, I don't have a website to show you, but if you trust me, like, let's go. And it's not the best way to do business, but back then that's just how we went with it. So, but I think starting with a personal brand in school, even building that brand apart from dentistry, I post stuff I'm a level 3 sommelier with wine. So I post stuff around that. I love sneakers. So I've got a sneaker collection. I post those things. I go to CrossFit to work out. So I make sure I even have hobbies and personal stuff, my family in there, because I just think people connect with it better. So I would say, yeah, that's a big thing. I encourage it.
Who is coaching for?
Is your schedule a nightmare?
Or is there no one on your schedule?
Are you working through lunch and you don't want to be?
Are you staying late?
Is your accounts receivable unbelievable?
Do you even know what your accounts receivable is?
If you said yes to any of these questions, Ignite DDS coaching might be for you. Please sure to mention that you heard it here on Beyond Graduation, and you'll get a free consultation with the Ignite team. DM us for more info.
Same time, I know a lot of dentists are private and they're kind of like, I do not want to be on social media at all. And I get that and respect that. You just got to funnel that energy and that attention over to the practice. So
piggybacking off of that before you move on to the AI question, how do we build that brand? Because I think there's this balance, right, where patients want to feel like they know you, but they also really don't want to know a lot about you because they still want to see you as their doctor. And
yeah.
I think it can be very, very unique to navigate that. And I feel for me, when I was in dental school, like dental student influencer pages were very, very new. And so I started one, and it was kind of like a shame thing for a while of like, who cares? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just seeing what happens. And then obviously cool stuff like this came out of it, where
Yep.
now we both spoke at an ASDA conference, and I came home and I had DMs from all these dental
Yeah.
student pages, and I was like, wow, it has changed so much. So how do you help a dentist build a brand? Because there's got to be this professional piece, but also this like authenticity
Yeah.
piece, and like walk that line.
No, you're right. And I think probably the mindset I shifted was back when I started Studio 88 in 2014. I just decided my social platforms were going to be business first is probably the right way to say it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to use them for, this is a professional platform for me.
Yeah.
Now, I look at it like I am a very integrated whole human. So I don't have these hangups with like, well, I can only post business stuff and I have to have a separate account for personal. And I'm just like, I'm an integrated person, man. My business, my life, my family, it's all one channel for me. So I don't have a problem posting that stuff. But you're right. There are some lines there with personal. I have very clear rules. Like, I don't get into any politics on my channel at all. I knew that early on. Like, I serve so many clients with so many different opinions. Out of respect for all that, like, I'm not going to use it to polarize. So there are definitely, I think, some things you have to figure out and draw the line. But Savannah, I think you like really good point there is, does it impact your patient base and your community? Yes, absolutely. You're going to get a following there. But I think more than that is it develops opportunities out away from the chair. And if you have no aspiration for that, fine. Like, there's no judgment. But if you're like, man, I would love to podcast and speak and get to know people and go to conferences and network, there is not a better tool to help you build that than your social media platform.
And patients are looking because the other day, I didn't even tell you this, Savannah, but just chatting with a patient, and a patient turns to me and she's like, "You podcast?"
I had this too. I don't know if we're getting pushed.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's getting on the For You page, but I had the same thing last week.
But then, like, awkwardly, because you never know where it's going, where the conversation's going. So I was like, "Yeah, I do," and she was like, "That's so cool."
Yeah, and
And I
you'll
just never would
realize.
have thought.
No, and you'll realize, like, because we run into clients and they go, hey, my social media platform is more for other dentists. Like, I have 40,000 dentists following me. It's not so much for my patient base. But what patients, the narrative that they create in that is, oh my gosh, my dentist is well known across the country. My dentist teaches other dentists. My dentist has a pot. It's all those things of it. It builds credibility, professional credibility. What, regardless of how silly that is, like, oh, you must be a good dentist because you have a podcast. We know that is not true at all. But that is a narrative. It's a signal, and that's what patients tell themselves.
That's a really interesting point, because I think I would have always thought it was the opposite, that they'd be like, oh, my dentist thinks they're so cool. But that's a really good point of like, we do see social media as this, I don't know, authority, if that's the right word, for better or for worse. But listen, anybody can buy a mic and start a podcast. Let us tell you. All right, now you got to answer the AI question, the harder one.
Yeah, gosh, AI is, I would say it's a lot of fun right now. I'm using it a ton. Our team is using it internally, mostly not to do the marketing, but to help. We're actually leveraging a ton for just efficiencies in our processes. I gave every team a challenge this year to find 20% inefficiency within your team. And a lot of that's around AI. Like, what processes and steps can we eliminate? But what I would say is, I'm actually speaking on this in a couple of weeks in Chicago, and put my first AI marketing presentation together. I've worked with our head of search. We're actually taking some AI search products to market that we're going to launch at that event. So I think we've really invested a lot into it. We've studied a lot of it. But the big picture I would give your audience is, we've already seen this progression happen with digital. When digital came through and disrupted everything, the first thing it really disrupted was content. If you think of digital cameras, all of a sudden, instead of now physical film and taking it to get developed, we all had these digital cameras and we're just snapping photos. We had back then it was like a Flickr account, or these things where we were like putting, like, what do we do with all these photos now that we have them? And that then disrupted really the search space is what happened next. So Google comes along, it disrupts the yellow pages. Once search gets disrupted, now we've got eyeballs on a whole new platform that disrupts digital ads. So now that we've got Google, and Google's like, hey, we got to make some money. Let's put ads up. This is where everybody has attention. Then it became the biggest ads platform in the country. And then that type of attention and buying power and money tends to shape social media of like, okay, how are we sharing all these pieces? And so if we walk through AI as the same progression, like we know it's already disrupted content. LLMs, even AI photography, video, the stuff we're producing, whether it's document. I mean, I feel like people are producing documents and more thought pieces at a higher articles at a higher level. Photos are definitely getting there. You got some strange stuff still happening. Videos, I would say they're not quite, but I mean, give it a year, it's going to be crazy. We already saw it disrupt that. What we're seeing it now is disrupt search. I mean, ChatGPT and Gemini and some of these platforms are really starting to gain some traction. Although I think the last stat I heard is they're still less than 20% of traffic. Once AI gets the majority of searches happening, there's going to be a whole different ads platform. So who knows what that's going to look like. And then I think at some point, probably in the next 5 years, I think social media is really going to change. The AI algorithms are using that way more to pull information from for searches. And so I actually think social media is going to take on more importance with dental practices here in the next 5 to 10 years. We're already seeing clients go, oh, we need at least like 4 posts a week because AI is like pulling from this now, right? And it's like, yep. And even videos, like, I mean, a lot of the content, I mean, Reels and TikToks, like that type of format is huge, playing a huge factor in AI searches. So now not even like, so the practices who were like, have been sleeping on social media, just even posting photos, I'm like, that's fine. But really now we're talking about how are you producing Reels and TikTok, like small short form video, even YouTube shorts. Like that's Google's platform, Gemini, is going to pull their return information from YouTube shorts. Like that's all their ecosphere. So they will absolutely make sure that's a huge factor. So the practices who are like, man, we're not even posting photos well. I'm like, well, this is where technology leaps over you because that's almost like baseline. Now we've got to talk about short form video content.
So you're saying like, for example, when you search dentist near me and, you know, your first searches are my office because we love Mike, but he's a SEO guy. It won't be the websites that show up anymore. It will be Reels at some point. Is that how that would look?
Well, so what I would argue is I would back up and say people aren't going to search like that anymore. If they are searching dentist near me, it's probably still a traditional Google search in a Google browser. What I think is going to happen is they're going to be on AI and be like, hey, I'm looking for a dentist. They could be within 10 to 12 miles from me, but my son has some issues and I want to make sure, or my son is autistic and I want to make sure that this pediatric doctor has experience with autism. So you're going to talk to AI models like that because we know they understand nuance. And we do this already. We're starting to mess with them. Like if I say something like this, what do they give me back? And if I can really dump what's in my head in there. So then all of a sudden, yeah, you get this reel that pops up and it's a female pediatric dentist that's talking about how they treat autistic patients. And all of a sudden that parent's like, okay, they're 15 miles away. So that's going to be a 45-minute drive for me to get out there, but I'm sold because they answered my question. So I think it's going to work like that.
Some of it's happening already, Savanah, because probably right before Christmas, because I've been playing around with using our editor that we have here for my practice. And he's been creating shorts for me using some AI stuff. But in December, we had a patient and we always asked them, you know, how'd you find us? And they went on Chat GPT and said, dentist near me that helps with emergencies. And they said we popped up as number one. And we were just trying to figure out how, but I think it's smart enough now to kind of pull from everywhere you are on social media, like Josh was saying.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, like, we call this social media. I really think one of the next big evolutions it's with that, really a better term for it is interest media. And what I mean by that is if you've opened up Instagram recently, like it used to be your friends in chronological order, right? And you could just scroll through them and be like, oh, that was yesterday with them. And now I'm like, I don't even see my friends as much anymore. It's serving me the things I'm interested in. And this was what happened with TikTok. This was what was revolutionary with them and their algorithm was they were the first ones that departed from that. Is we are going to recommend stuff to you and show it to you because we at the end of the day they think it keeps you on the platform longer. So now so if you think about that from the other side of it, these algorithms are trying to find quality content to match their audience and bring them together. So I put out a lot of business leadership stuff, a lot of marketing, ownership. I probably have 2 reels, TikToks a week that go out. And I know I'm like, well, if I put out really great business ownership content, those platforms are going to go, well, who's looking for that? And then they're going to start showing me to a whole new audience. So there's actually these platforms, if you think about it, they're actually actively trying to market for you. You just have to put out good content. So yeah, if every week you're putting out something that talks about emergencies and how we treat emergencies and we're geared for that, and we built the office that way, and because I had this experience when I was a child and the dentist stepped into my life and impacted me, and you're producing content like that all the time. As soon as somebody's looking for emergencies, that algorithm is like, oh, this dentist talks about it all the time, and they match them up.
That's crazy. I feel like I'm still a boomer over here on Google. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
One of the things, go ahead, Savanah.
No, you go ahead. I'm just mind blown over here.
I was going to say, one of the things that Savanah and I have always admired about you is your love for your team and your love for business and helping leaders become better leaders. Can you speak more to your passion for that?
Yeah. I at the end of the day, we've got what drives me. I love dentistry. I'm super thankful we're in the space. What drives me as a person, my personal fulfillment is leading a team of creatives. I tell them sometimes, I'm like, we just happen to be running dentistry through that, but we probably could have run anything through that, but we decided that was going to be our focus. But so on the outside, it's we want to be the best in the country at dental marketing. That's really our flag in the ground is we feel like we're the top agency. We're out to prove that, take that, be that. Internally, what drives all of us is, man, we get to work with a highly talented team of creatives. And I love that aspect of it. I think that's actually what I'm really, really good at the end of the day is knowing how to create an environment where creatives feel safe and where they can do their best work. A lot of times we forget the act of creativity is probably one of the most important acts of courage that we get to bring to the world every day, every week. And it's a little bit of I see this different. And so I'm going to bring that to the world and then see how it's received, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. It takes a safe environment. We talk a lot about psychological safety. There was a big study that Google did, I think it was 2001, when they were watching all the tech companies really explode. And Google went in to study them. It was a Project Aristotle. And they said, why are tech companies scaling at such a high rate? We've never seen this before. What's the secret? What's the factor? And I think they were going to come out with something like innovation or because you're watching tech and software just all of a sudden explode in the early 2000s. And what the study found was Google came out of it and they said, psychological safety was the number one factor in companies growing this fast. And I think at the end of the day, it's just that people want to feel like they're safe. They want to feel like there's other high performing people around them and they want to do their best work. And so whether that's a 50-year-old on the team or whether that's we every now and then we hire somebody they're 19 or 20 and we're at a social happy hour and I'm like, oh wait, you can't drink, can you? Hold on for a second. So whether they're 19, 20 or I think that's just at the end of the day what people want from their professional space. So we're passionate about it.
Speak a little more to, I think dentists we have a creative side to us. There is a lot of artistry in dentistry, but I think we are very more right-brained than perhaps the team that you work with on a regular basis. How do you marry those two worlds and you guys produce really high-level, successful campaigns for your clients who are very different than the team who's creating those? So how do you balance that world and protect your team and create that psychological safety, but also meet the expectations of your clients?
Yeah, gosh, that's a really good question. On one side of it, I will tell you, I value my team This will be a controversial take, but I value my team more than our clients. I do. I think a happy team equals happy clients. I don't think it's the other way around. I don't think you strive to do everything to make your clients happy and then your team becomes happy. It just never works like that. And even that kind of old adage of the customer's always right, it's just not the case in our company. And you will find an incredibly empathetic, compassionate team that will bend over backwards for our clients. But at some point, we expect that relationship to be mutual. And so 2 months ago, I fired a client. It doesn't happen a ton, but every now and then I just have to make a call and go, hey. And usually it's after the team has tried multiple times, our directors have tried multiple times. I even get in and try. And then at some point I'm just like, hey, I told you, we cannot exist like this. Trust goes both ways. And so wish you the best, man. Go find, we'll release you from any obligations. I hope you go find an amazing marketing team for you, but it's not going to be us. So when you do that, your team really, really responds to it. And whenever that happens, I always have teammates that message me behind the scenes and they're just like, hey, thanks for having my back. I appreciate it. I gave it my all. And I'm like, no, I know you did. At some point, there's a line and they cross it. So that's kind of like a short answer to it. The longer answer is we really try to, you were talking about right brain, left brain, but we have a really creative team, but we also really insist on performance. And so I think one of the things that makes us unique in dentistry, there's really not another agency like this, is we started as a creative agency, but then we build out all the services, meaning SEO, social media, digital ads. And my theory is when you can have really great storytelling creative that connects with patients, and you can have really great performance services behind it that are pushing it for engagement, that's when you can create predictable growth as a practice. If all you have is the right brain or the creative, you might connect with people, but not enough are seeing it. And if all you're doing is pushing SEO and ads, but there's no connection point, people aren't going to stick with that either. So it's really the combination of that right brain, left brain, creative and performance coming together is kind of what makes us unique.
Can you speak more to like your leadership journey? Because Ronnetta and I are self-help book junkies, podcast junkies, all the things about trying to be better leaders, better people. And I saw your reel the other day about firing this client, and it really spoke to me because I do believe in protecting my team, and we're not always the best fit for a patient. And it took me a while to get there because, you need to make money and all of those things. So what does your leadership journey look like? How have you gotten to this point as a leader, as a business owner? What resources and things would you recommend?
Yeah, gosh, lots of books. You can see here with my bookshelf. If you're seeing a book, it's been read for sure. I have my like up next pile over here, but I read a lot, and a lot of it's business, a lot of it's leadership. Leadership is a weird journey, man, because I don't know. I could look back at some points now and go like, oh, I think that was really a turning point for me, the mentality of becoming a leader. But I don't know that there's never this like finish line that you cross or this checkpoint or this door you open or somebody gives you a certificate. Now you're a leader. Good job. There's nothing concrete like that. It's an evolution. And I think so much of it is really, it's not as technical. It's an evolution of, and the building of the soft skills and the empathy and the diplomacy and the apologizing and the confidence and the strength and things that we don't think about from developing a professional skill set. But the people that have worked on those typically tend to rise to the top as leaders. I'll tell you right now, every year or every so often, I get challenged because as our company grows, it demands different things of me as a leader. And so you have these transitions where you're like, oh, this season's different. Like, what skill set do I need to get through this? And a couple of things right now top of mind for me is I kind of have this whole concept of peace through strength. And I think strong leaders really bring peace to their organizations, to their environments. There was a couple of things last year I let kind of get away from me. And when I look back, it was really because in my head, I was like, I don't know that I have the energy to have that conversation. I don't know. It'll probably be fine. Like, is it really that big of a deal? Like, you're telling yourself this in your head. And then we had a couple things, it's like you see the smoke, but You go, man, I don't have it in me to deal with this. But then 4 months later, all of a sudden there's a fire and you're like, oh crap. Like if I would have had, if I would have been strong and had that conversation, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. And at the end of the day, as a leader, you have to take responsibility for it. And so that's been really top of mind for me this year. I've got another tough conversation coming up, but it's just built some resilience in me of kindness is clarity. Go start having these conversations, be clear because it's actually very kind to the person on the other end, but be strong because that brings that peace and stability to the whole team.
This has been something that has come up in many conversations with Ronnetta and I and other podcast guests, this clear and kind thing. So it's in everybody's ether right now.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, being kind or being clear, being strong, it doesn't mean you have to be a jerk, and it doesn't mean you have to run over people. And you don't have to have the attitude of like, hey, it's my way or the highway. This is my organization. Step outside and see whose name is on the wall. Like, it's not those types of conversations. You can be clear and be strong in a way where at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I care for every single team member. Like, I want you here. But you got to want to be here too. Me pulling you is never going to work. So I think we have to realize that goes both ways and it's mutual. And I want them to feel my care and compassion for them. But at the same time, I want them to know, I had this thing with our team where I'm like, Studio 88 is the client. And so even when we're dealing with team members, it's kind of like, okay, what's the best decision for the client? Because it might be the best decision for the team member, but it might be destructive for the company. And so how do we actually look at that through that filter of, and I try to do that with the team too. I'm like, I know you want to go part-time and still keep this title and do these things. I don't know that the company is going to be able to move forward with a part-time person in that position. And so like, I love you, but like, if that's your decision, like it may not be the right fit. And so being able to filter that way is a huge skill set.
Yeah, that's super, super different to think of the business as its own entity. And it almost, does it create kind of a separation emotionally, to tell? Yeah.
I think so. And I think that's
you're looking at it more subjective.
Yeah, I would say you're probably looking at, you're pulling back and it's giving you more of a bird's eye view. And I think tools like that in business are really helpful because when you're in it and the emotion and you're like, okay, this team member's been with us for 6 years and she's earned the right to be here. So like, am I going to let her go at part-time? But if you can go, but what's best for the practice? Like, are we going to be able to make the moves that we need to or grow the way we want to? And maybe it's yes, but also maybe it's no. And so you have to come back and have those conversations.
Do you have like a top 3 leadership books that you think everyone should read? Putting you on the spot. You can cheat. You can look behind you.
I know. I've got my go-tos over here. Our executive team just read through Good to Great again, or read it for the first time as a team, but it was my second time reading it. That book, I think, is from like 95 or 2000 or something like that. Super, super good book, though. We're in the middle of this kind of building some things. We felt like we had a really good agency, but how do we become great? How do we actually go to like the top agency in the country? And that book's been so good. Traction is a good one. I don't know if you've read that. It's the EOS system, Entrepreneurial Operating System. It kind of gives you a baseline for running a business with a lot of leadership in it. I'm trying to just see what else is over there. Those are two really good ones that I can see.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond Graduation. If you enjoyed this week's episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Connect with us on social media at Savanah Craig DDS and at Dr_Sartor. And remember, you are not alone on this journey.
ADEC certified pre-owned equipment is a sustainable, affordable choice that makes genuine ADEC equipment available to every doctor. Each package is sold on a first-come, first-served basis. So, if you see one you like, contact your dealer. For more information, go to www.adec.com/find a dealer. Thank you for listening to Beyond Graduation, brought to you by Ignite DDS and Future Dentists. This episode was sponsored by Ignite DDS Coaching. We build self-determined futures. For more information, please reach out to the Ignite DDS team.